Two helicopters collided Sunday morning. Of the 6 people dead was American singer and comedian Oliver Tree.
2 helicopters, one sky over Rio de Janeiro, 3 seconds. That is all it took for 6 lives to disappear, including one of the strangest and most unpredictable stars the internet ever created. Fans have spent weeks demanding real answers, and investigators have finally started talking. So,
infelizmente, foram encontradas 5 vítimas sem vida na primeira aeronave, que estava em chamas,
was this really just a tragic accident, or is there something Brazilian officials still are not saying out loud? Stick around, because some of what we found might genuinely change what you thought you knew about Oliver Tree's death. The morning Rio stood still. On the morning of June 14, 2026, just before 9 o'clock local time, 2 helicopters collided in mid-air above Recreio dos Bandeirantes, a quiet residential neighborhood in the western zone of Rio de Janeiro. One aircraft was a Eurocopter Esquilo carrying a group of 5 passengers, and the other was a Bell Jet Ranger flown solo by its pilot. Within seconds, both machines came apart in the sky and dropped straight onto the parking lot of a car dealership below, igniting a fire that would eventually consume close to 20 vehicles, several of them electric, which only made the blaze burn hotter and spread faster than firefighters expected. Among the 5 people inside the first helicopter was 32-year-old American singer Oliver Tree, alongside Argentine YouTuber Gaspar Prim, known to millions simply as Gaspy, Argentine director and screenwriter Lucas Vignale, and Brazilian music producer Lucas Brito Chaves, who performed under the name Lucas Frota. The pilot flying that aircraft was Alexandra Souza. The second helicopter carried only its pilot, Charles Marcillac, who had taken off from an entirely different location before the 2 flight paths crossed in the worst possible way. All 6 people on board both aircraft were killed on impact. Here's what makes the timing even harder to sit with. Oliver Tree was in Brazil as part of his world's first world tour, a massive run of 70 shows across 30 countries built around his 4th studio album, Love You Madly, Hate You Badly. He had just performed in Sao Paulo on June 6th, and his next scheduled stop was Lisbon on July 1st. Only hours before the crash, he posted a photo to his Instagram story with the caption, "American for the first time in Brazil," a small and completely ordinary post that fans would later return to again and again, searching for meaning that was never actually there. Rio's fire department said the wreckage from both aircraft scattered across a radius of more than 100 meters, with a section of tail landing on the roof of a neighboring building. A security camera happened to capture one of the helicopters falling, and a witness, working nearby, described watching one aircraft already engulfed in flames before it ever reached the ground. Roughly 45 military personnel and 15 vehicles were rushed to the scene within minutes, and officials later admitted the outcome could have been far worse, considering how many homes surrounded the crash site. Tributes poured in almost immediately from across the music and internet world. Fellow artists including Kid Cudi, Post Malone, Bebe Rexha, KSI, T-Pain, Robin Schulz, Diplo, and Tree's own ex-girlfriend Melanie Martinez all posted messages of grief within hours. In the Spanish-speaking world, an entire community of streamers and YouTubers mourned Gaspy separately, since his own following stretched across Argentina and beyond. It is rare for one single accident to bring together this many corners of the internet at once, and that alone tells you exactly how far-reaching this tragedy really became. But almost as fast as the grief spread, so did something else entirely: the hoax that refused to die. Within hours, a huge portion of the internet simply refused to believe Oliver Tree was actually gone. That reaction did not come from nowhere either. Tree had spent his entire career blurring the line between reality and performance, staging fake funerals, announcing mock retirements, and building his whole artistic persona out of exaggerated versions of his own death. So, when the real news finally landed, a lot of longtime fans assumed this was just another one of his stunts, and the theories took off from there almost instantly. The clearest example fans pointed to was his music video for the song Flowers, which shows Tree standing between 2 helicopters while singing the line, "Put flowers on my tombstone." Within hours of the crash being confirmed, that clip had racked up more than 500,000 views, with viewers calling the imagery eerily prophetic, even though there was never any real connection between a music video he filmed years earlier and the accident that followed. The theories only got stranger from there. Some fans dug up an old interview where Tree described a teenage experience where he said he had once hallucinated watching his own funeral and called it a kind of rebirth. Others pointed to a comment he made on the Zach Sang show about his will, where he said his family would not see a cent of his money because it would go back to supporting other artists instead, and people twisted that comment into evidence of a planned disappearance rather than what it actually was, a statement about his estate. Then came the numerology, and this is the part of the story that spread the fastest while making the least sense. One viral clip claimed Tree's death landed exactly 333 weeks after Kobe Bryant's own fatal helicopter crash, that he had just crossed 3.3 million Instagram followers, and that he died only 2 weeks before turning 33, since his actual birthday was June 29, 1993. Another version of the theory focused on his Instagram post count sitting at 126, which people connected to January 26th, the exact date Kobe Bryant died. Psychologists actually have a name for this pattern of forcing meaning onto random numbers. They call it apophenia, and it tends to explode online after almost every high-profile tragedy, whether or not any of the numbers involved mean anything at all. Adding to all of that, an old Antarctica documentary Tree had made years earlier resurface too, with some viewers insisting it proved he had a secret plan to disappear off the grid entirely. Fact-checkers who actually reviewed the footage found it was a satirical companion piece tied to one of his earlier albums, and that Tree had really only spent about a week there filming, not months, despite what viral posts kept claiming. It fit the exact same pattern as everything else on this list, a piece of content built purely for humor being reinterpreted after his death as some kind of hidden confession. Here is the part that matters most though. None of these claims have ever been backed by a single piece of real evidence. No representative for Tree, no member of his family, and no Brazilian authority has ever suggested his death was staged. His team eventually confirmed the loss publicly, announcing that his final wishes included launching a charitable grant in his name to support young artists, a detail that only underlined how permanent and real this loss actually was. So if the hoax theories do not hold up, that raises the real question everybody actually wants answered. What did investigators find? Accident, error, or something worse? While the hoax theories dominated social media, the real investigation was moving forward on a much quieter track, and one detail stood out almost immediately, a story about the person who almost got on that helicopter and did not. Brazilian producer Victor Wow had originally planned to be on that same flight with his close friend Lucas Vignali, but his fear of flying made him hesitate at the last moment. Vignal, without making a big deal out of it, quietly arranged a car to take Wow to their destination instead, and let someone else take the open seat. That small, almost forgettable decision ended up saving Wow's life, and in an emotional tribute posted afterward, he wrote that he now owed his friend everything and would carry that debt for the rest of his life. On the investigative side, Rio police investigator Alan Luxardo told reporters at the scene that human error was one of the leading theories being examined, and that officials were working to determine whether responsibility fell on one of the pilots or on air traffic control. Fire Services Lieutenant Colonel Fabio Contreras added that early evidence was still extremely limited, since parts of both aircraft were found scattered hundreds of meters apart, and investigators needed flight recordings and video footage before they could even begin reconstructing what happened in the seconds before impact. Separate reporting has also pointed to mechanical failure and poor weather conditions as areas investigators are actively examining, though as of now, Brazilian aviation officials still have not announced one single confirmed cause. Brazil's 3rd Regional Service for Investigation and Prevention of Aeronautical Accidents, a specialized military unit better known as Saripa 3, was the agency called in to begin what officials describe as the initial action phase of the investigation. That process involves trained specialists collecting physical evidence at the crash site, preserving anything that survived the fire, documenting damage to both aircraft, and gathering every scrap of information needed before a formal cause can ever be announced. Investigators have also confirmed they are working to recover flight data from the wreckage itself, since both helicopters had taken off from separate locations, one from Angra dos Reis and one from Jacarapagua, and both were reportedly operating in full compliance with standard regulations at the time. And here is where one detail has quietly raised eyebrows. Not everyone is willing to wait patiently for an official report either. Ricardo Prim, the father of YouTuber Gaspi, publicly said he does not believe this was a simple accident, telling Argentine media that based on information he has personally been receiving, he believes it was an attack, though he has never presented any evidence to support that claim. Gaspi's mother, Michelle Prim, has taken the opposite approach, telling reporters she feels heartbroken but at peace, choosing to focus on her son's memory rather than speculation about how he died. Online, plenty of people have compared this exact pattern to what happened after Kobe Bryant's crash in 2020, when attack theories also spread widely before investigators eventually confirmed it really was a tragic accident with no foul play involved at all. So, where does that actually leave us right now? Brazilian investigators have not closed this case, and no official cause has been confirmed yet. What we do know for certain is that there is no credible evidence Oliver Tree faked his death, no evidence the crash was intentional, and no evidence tying it to any wider conspiracy, only a devastating mechanical and human tragedy that investigators are still working to fully explain. Everything else still circulating online remains theory, not fact, no matter how many times it gets reposted. So after everything we just walked through, do you believe this was purely a tragic accident, or do you think there is still something bigger investigators have not told the public yet? Drop your take in the comments below. I genuinely want to know where you land on this one. If this video kept you hooked, click on one of the cards on your screen for more stories just like it, and we will see you in the next one.